Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Welcome to this meeting of the Budget and Finance Committee for Monday, August 29th, 2016. I'm Paul Krikorian, Chair of the Committee. I'm joined by my colleagues, Council Members Englander and Blumenfield, and we have a quorum and we're ready to begin the meeting. Members, I'd like to take item number 10 out of order. Item number 10 is our only public agenda item before we go into closed session. So I'll ask first to hear from Mr. Spindler to speak on number 10. You have 1 minute on number 10.
Okay. The pig will be addressing today.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate Medi-Cal Intergovernmental Transfer Program to transfer emergency medical to ambulance transport. Like when you get the parking ticket and you have a heart attack, you go from emergency medical to ambulance transport. Because that's what happens in LA. You can't live in this place without having a heart attack. So that's why I support this item. This is great. Pepita Pig likes it. Also, and I think this is great, public safety waived the committee because public safety is chaired by a person with a fake police ID. So you don't have jurisdiction.
It has nothing to do with the topic. Your time has expired.
Oh,
All right,
okay.
have a seat. We're on to item number
Thank you.
10. Please sit down. Be quiet for the rest of the meeting, or else you'll be asked to leave. Sit down in the front row. Item number 10, please.
Item number 10 is a report from the City Administrative Officer relative to Los Angeles Fire Department participation in the fiscal year 2014-15 Medi-Cal Intergovernmental Transfer Program to access federal Medicaid funds for emergency medical and ambulance transport services.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. My name is Janice Yu, Office of the CAO. For you is a report from the CAO and an attached report from the Fire Department requesting authority to transfer $9.5 million to the State of California Department of Healthcare Services in order to participate in the fiscal year 2014-15 Medi-Cal Intergovernmental Transfer Program and pursue federal funds available for LAFD emergency medical and ambulance transport services for Medi-Cal managed care beneficiaries. This came out of a motion adopted by the City Council on May 13, 2016, approving in concept LAFD participation in the Intergovernmental Transfer Program with the Department of Healthcare Services in order to pursue these increased matching Medicaid federal funds. So the actions before you today are to approve the transfer of the $9.51 million. That is including a 20% administrative fee that goes to the Department of Healthcare Services. And the deadline for transferring that money is September 9th. And by December 16th, we expect to get back approximately $15 million for a net total of net revenue of $5.86 million. And the department here is to talk a little bit more about the program if you have any questions.
Okay, so the expectation right now is that within a week of transferring this, our revenues come back?
December 2016.
Oh, December. Okay,
Yes.
so it's within a couple months.
Correct.
So what assurance do we have that those funds are going to be available then and not deterred to something or rerouted to something else?
Under the agreement, if the funds are not accepted, then the money that the city deposits will be returned.
So we'll get 100% refund of what we've deposited if there's some change in direction in this program.
Correct.
Mr. Blumenfield.
The only difficult part for us is that the money we get back is restricted, right, to medical-related services?
Correct. Funds received are to be used for providing services to Medi-Cal beneficiaries and for other healthcare-related services.
Do we have, since we don't generally, we don't do health services as much as the county, of course. I'm assuming that net in terms of the amount of services that we have that this money can supplant, we're still okay, or are we going over, like how much do we spend on on that category, medical related healthcare services that is supplantable?
The EMS program budget for the fire department, the entire program budget is eligible for this funding. And for 2016-17, the EMS funding program is sorry, let me find that number. Is $187.93 million. So $188 million we're already spending on EMS program.
Within the supplant
Correct.
amount. And that being said, are we maximizing I'm assuming we're maximizing the amount that we can get through the federal program. Is there a way that we could get even more, or are we poking up against the limit?
I believe the department can speak a little more to this.
Yes, this is the first year of the city's participation into the program, and because of the fact that it is our first year of participation, we actually were at the tail end of the process, which meant that all of the other agencies that were eligible for participation got their share, and then whatever was remaining, that was why the calculation in terms of the contribution amount of $7.9 million was approved for the city. Theoretically, the funds that would be eligible for a match would be the entire amount that is unreimbursed for Medi-Cal HMO patients. And that amount for the 14-15 program year was approximately $48 million. Let me also, mention a caveat. The caveat, is that even though the unreimbursed amount is $48 million, the actual amount that would be eligible for participation would be based on the two contracted healthcare plans that are contracted with the state. So that means that those Medi-Cal HMO patients that are in fact insured by the two companies, which currently is HealthNet and LA Care, would be would entitle the city to provide an application for those amounts. Specifically for those two health care plans, the amount of unreimbursed costs is approximately $28 million. So assuming that, for the current plan year, which we would apply for next year, if that amount holds true, and if there are available funds that could be approved by these health care plans for the city to apply for, theoretically, if we had $28 million that we would be willing to upfront to the state for transfer, that would be the amount that would be eligible for the match.
So, which is great, and I don't see any reason why we shouldn't, be doing the maximum amount. And I'm a little concerned that we're leaving a little bit of money on the table, but I understand. I guess it's a new program, and it is what it is at the moment. But is there any reason why we won't be pursuing the maximum amount for next year?
Certainly, that would be a policy decision on the part of City Council. I think in terms of the mechanism that we're recommending that we follow through with the current year relative to relying upon the EMS program sworn salaries account, we certainly, for this year, for example, we have $105 million within that account. So whatever amount we would transfer from that account would be reimbursed one way or another. Whether the program goes through, whether the program doesn't go through, that amount would be returned to the city, and we would be reimbursed for that amount.
And when you say it's a policy decision for the City Council, I just want to make sure that we're taking those steps, and we're relying on you guys to feed us those steps in the earliest time possible to make that policy. It doesn't even seem like this is not a difficult policy choice. I can't imagine any reason why we wouldn't go after free money.
Can I just mention in terms of the timeline, the timeline in terms of the processing of the application and the amount that we would know as to what they would recommend. Well, actually, it's not even a recommendation. It's a decision, that would be made by the healthcare plans, and the recommendation is to the state, and invariably the state will agree with whatever the healthcare plans are recommending. So those decisions are typically made starting in mid-April through mid-May, which is around the time that the budget process for the city is being initiated. And so, certainly, we'll be working closely, with the CAO as well as the CLA, as well as the staff, of the committee chair to keep you apprised, as to what the status, of that process is.
And it didn't happen this year because we're just learning about the program, and it's a new program in terms of why we're at the smaller. Is that
Right. We were at the very tail end of the process, and we basically got, whatever was left over. And, I think, we were very fortunate, to have been able to receive the amount of $8 million for the match.
And I appreciate that.
The program itself is not new, but for city governments to be participating is relatively newer. There are some smaller jurisdictions in California that are doing this, but this is the first year that the fire department is pursuing this.
Okay. Then there being no other discussion, we'll go ahead and approve this item without objection. Thank you very much. That brings us to our closed session items. The only cards I have on any of the closed session items are from Mr. Spindler. Mr. Spindler, pick 4 matters. Come on up. You have 4 minutes.
Okay, now,
Which 4 matters will you be speaking on?
you mean I can't talk on all of them?
No. You have 4 minutes.
Oh, shit. 9876. Okay. Everybody understands how democracy doesn't work. So, number 6 is Naranjib Bhai Patel versus City of Los Angeles. Now, that's not a Muslim, that's a Hindu. And this nice Hindu gentleman seems to be suing the City of Los Angeles for the city's enforcement of the Municipal Code 4149, violating plaintiffs' constitutional rights. Of course he's right. Of course the city violated its constitutional rights. This place is a walking, talking jihad against the Constitution, so of course they did that. Of course the city, look at that. CV, no, not CVS. CV means Federal Courthouse Cases filed 3 years in a row. 2003, 2004, 2005, 11 fucking years later, they're finally going to pay this nice gentleman for all of his deprivation. Congratulations. Now we get to the sanitation truck. CD9, Ignacio Cruz. Yes, the majority of CD9 is Latino. Muy bien. So now Ignacio Cruz was walking, minding his own business, and his fucking truck comes in wrong and busts his legs apart and runs him over. Who owns the truck? The city of LA. Now, you know what they did? They said, "Oh, señor, no son dueños de este puto bus." But later we found out. We know the truth. Sanitation trucks run over people. Fuck 'em. Make sure he gets paid today. Number 8. Let's see, we have here the Superior Court, a traffic collision, and CD15. That's not a big deal, folks. It doesn't mean that they wanted to run over somebody. It's just that they were in a hurry. People that drive city cars are always in a hurry, and they speed all the time, going from one house that they claim they live in to the one they really don't, going from one girlfriend to the other, important city business, not bullshit. So, of course, Lonnie Gilmetti will get paid. Thank you for suing the city. And then finally, number 9, Downey Brand LLP, $25,000 for what? Outside counsel fees. Why? Because the city of Gardena got in a litigation with the Regional Water Quality Control Board, and somehow the city fucked up again. And I mourn this every time. I keep saying, will you stop interpleading in these fucking cases? But they did, and now the city has to pay for more lawyers, more outside counsel, more delay, more obfuscation. And it's sometimes like Leroy Hill versus City of Los Angeles. They just shoot the witness. But here, $25,000 so people live. Why do we spend this money on lawyers? Just admit your sins. I am here to read your confession. Confess to me. Confess to all of us. The city is guilty. Repeat after me. The city is fucking guilty. We can litigate damages and save millions.
All right. That exhausts public comment on all of our closed session items. For those who aren't familiar with Mr. Spindler's daily routine, I apologize for the offensiveness of it, but that's the way it goes. So we're going to retire now into closed session to consider, is there a preference as to priority? We're back in open session. It's time for general public comment. There being no general public comment is closed, and we are adjourned.